We need another Rio, and we need this Rio to be ambitious, and we need real action coming from Rio. There has been progress, but the progress has been far, far too slow, given the challenge we face, the moral imperative of taking action in this area. So we're really aiming for 3 big sustainable development goals. One around food security, which is a real challenge given the price of food for many people now. So actually, although there's been progress on poverty, food deprivation is both acute in some areas, but the actual ability to people to access food that's available in their country because the price of it has actually got worse. So food security is a critical issue. Access to clean water is one of the other key sustainable development goals we want to push at Rio. So water isn't just about poverty alleviation, although it's critical. It isn't just about health. It isn't just about development broadly. It is also even more demanding on that. So I think that's one of the reasons why I'm delighted that that is part of our objectives. We also have an energy objective. The UN Secretary General has really pushed off a project about access for all to green energy, to clean energy. And I think that's something we need to have an international agreement on to really push that across the world. Going forward. Mandatory carbon reporting, well, I was involved in that when I was a Minister for Biz, I was Minister for Corporate Governance when my responsibilities in the Department of Business, and I was pushing very strongly for this, even though some of my officials were not quite as keen as I was. It's actually not led by Biz, though, it's not led by my department, it's led by DEFRA, as you know, and there are negotiations going on. As I've discovered in government, you have to get a number of departments on board. And shall we say, we're not quite there yet, but we are working hard to try to get cross-departmental, cross-Whitehall agreement to it. I believe we'll get there. The growth issue, it's critical actually. It's one of the fundamental questions. I believe you can have such a thing as green growth, sustainable growth. One of the reasons why Nick will be arguing at Rio for a GDP plus is so we can measure growth in a way which is sustainable. We need more balanced growth, we need more sustainable growth, and the growth we've had in recent years on debt, on the banks getting out of control, clearly wasn't sustainable growth. And we've got to do that. And some of the things that we're doing in my department, for example, the Green Deal, is about growing by insulating people's homes and insulating buildings more effectively, and that creates jobs, and that is, I think, a really good way of going forward. Because there are really 3 founders of low-carbon electricity generation which we're going to depend on. And I don't think anyone knows the mix that we're going to do that. This is the supply side, not the demand reduction side, from the supply side. And they're the family of renewables, whether it's water, solar, geothermal, tidal, marine, renewable heat, etc., etc. There is carbon capture and storage, which is yet to be seen to be commercially viable, but we're trying to see whether that can work, because that's potentially a game changer. And there's new nuclear. Nuclear is a real tricky one for the environmental movement. It's a tricky one for people like me. I stood on a manifesto at the last election that we wouldn't support new nuclear. And the coalition agreement says that Liberal Democrats are able to abstain on any nuclear proposition, but that we have the Conservative Party's policy as the coalition agreement, which is that new nuclear cannot have public subsidy. I think this is quite an interesting position, because I do believe that new nuclear should not have public subsidy. It's an old technology, it's been around for 60 years, so there's no case for it to have subsidy in the way that wind deserves subsidy, solar deserves subsidy, geothermal and other renewables deserve subsidy.